Magna Carta. A busload of tourists arrives at Runnymede. They gather around the guide who says, "This is the spot where the barons forced King John to sign the Magna Carta." A fellow at the front of the crowd asks, "When did that happen?" 1215, answers the guide. The man looks at his watch and says, "Dang, just missed it by a half hour." The Magna Carta, meaning Great Charter in Latin, was a document signed on June 15, 1215. It was made to settle the dispute between the barons and King John. King John was abusing his power and the barons were not happy. He would constantly demand more men and more money.
More men, more money.
He began to lose his land because of his inability to keep his word. He was forced to sign the Magna Carta in fear of starting a civil war. The Magna Carta failed to resolve the conflict between the barons and King John, but it was one of the most important documents written in this time. The relationship between the king and his barons, or members of the lowest order in British society, was vital in an England community. It was the king's duty to provide his people with territory, and the barons' duty to provide the king with men to defend the territory. According to feudal law, if the king could not conquer new land, the barons could not replenish him with more materials without a consultation on raising taxes. But this was the case with King John in England. England had owned land in France for quite some time. However, he was not military successful abroad. Still, he required more supplies from the barons. His constant requests angered them, and by 1204 he had lost all England's land in northern France. Even worse, without a consultation, he introduced higher taxes on the barons. He had not been granted permission, and this was against feudal law. King John made mistakes in other areas of English life. He angered the Roman Catholic Church, which caused him to be excommunicated by the Pope in 1209, meaning he wasn't allowed to go to heaven. Religion and the fear of hell were very important in England. Due to King John's behavior, Pope also banned all church services in England in 1207. Finally came 1214, the year that the barons rebelled against King John's power. He attempted to regain his land in France, but when he returned back to London, asking for more money, the barons refused to listen. They captured London, but did not entirely defeat King John. In the spring of 1215, both King John and the barons were willing to discuss. In result came the Magna Carta. The Magna Carta was a document of 63 clauses that dealt with the position of the Catholic Church, the legal system, imprisonment and punishment, responsibility between both sides, and the limited power King John could have. Later, during the American Revolution, some of the same rights served as inspiration. Some of the rights were also embedded into the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. To conclude, the Magna Carta solved the argument between King John and the barons of England, and has paved the way for laws today. This was brought to you by Ella and Macy and Miley and Sylvia.